Hello, my dear students. It's time for your social science class, and we'll be starting with a chapter from history. Now, before starting this chapter, I hope you guys remember what we studied about the Indian history in 6th standard. We studied about the Janpads and Mahajanpads, and then we studied about the rulers who ruled India. We studied about various dynasties, and the last thing we remember was about the Gupta dynasty, which at which time India had its golden age. But even after the end of that dynasty, there were other big rulers. So we'll be studying about two such big states which were formed in India, one in North India and one in South India during the 7th century. So let's start with the first big state of India. The first big state is Kanauj. Now, before reading or how it became a big state, let's start with a small story. During the 7th century, Prabhakar Vardhan was ruling Thaneshwar, which is present-day Punjab, Haryana. He had three children: Rajyavardhan, the elder son; Harshvardhan, the smaller son, a younger son, and Rajyashri, his daughter. Rajyashri was married to the king of Kanauj, and after Prabhakar Vardhan died, Rajyavardhan, the elder son, ascended the throne to Thaneshwar. Now, Rajyashri, when she was married to the king of Kanauj, was imprisoned by the king of Malwa, Devgupt. So, Rajyavardhan had a war against him to to rescue his sister. But by treachery, he was killed by the king of god Shashank. So, as Rajyavardhan passed away, Harshvardhan, who was younger, who was just 16-year-old, he became the king of Thaneshwar. And as asked by the leaders, he shouldered the responsibility of Thaneshwar. Let's see what he did as soon as becoming king. Now, as soon as became king, his sister is still imprisoned, so he decided to free his imprisoned sister Rajyashri. But he was not knowing that Rajyashri had escaped from the clutches of Devgupt. She somehow rescued herself and she ran into the Vindhya forest. So he went to search his sister, and with the help of the people of the forest and a Buddhist hermit, a Buddhist monk, sadhu, named Divakar Mitra, they found him and he stopped her from committing sati. Sati was the practice which was followed by the people. It was a tradition where when the husband passes away, along with his pyre, the woman, the wife, she also burns herself alive and she becomes sati. So Rajyashri was about to do that, but Harshvardhan stopped her from that. And since the kingdom of Rajyashri, Kanaj, the king had passed away, Rajyashri's kingdom came under the rule of Harshvardhan. So now Harshvardhan was the ruler of Thaneshwar, which he got from his father, after that his brother, and the king of Kanaj. And he also made Kanaj its capital. And then he defeated Devgupt, the king of Malwa, the king who had imprisoned his sister. Now, after becoming king, the first priority was to rescue his sister. He did that, but then in his to-do list, the next thing was to defeat Shashank, the king who killed his brother. So, in doing so, to launch an attack, he took the help of the king of Kamrup, Assam, Bhaskar Varman, and with his help, with his alliance, he defeated him. And he also got a major part of his kingdom. A small part was given to the king of Assam, Bhaskar Varman, but the major part of God came under the king of Kanauj or Harshvardhan. After that, he also conquered Malwa and Saurashtra. He wanted to reach and conquer the region of South India but was defeated by Pulkeshi II, who was the king of the Chalukya dynasty. And like this, he had 7 successive victorious years. He took various wars and he won them. Thaneshwar this way became as a large kingdom in North India. Now, after studying about how Harshvardhan became the king and he expanded his kingdom, let's see how he sustained his kingdom, how he was taking care of his kingdom, his reign, or we can say his rule and administration. He used to personally supervise the things which were going on in his state by traveling to different parts of his empire. He not just asked the person in charge, but he actually went there and supervised the lifestyle or how the people in his kingdom are living. His daily routine was divided into 3 parts. The first one was for administration, second for public welfare, and third for religious activities. Religious activities, we know that it can be the puja or the things that we do, and public welfare. It can be about making things, supervising those things which are done for the public, or it can be the normal gathering, the court which is being held for welfare of the people. And he used to work so hard, like sometimes he will be busy doing his taking out his administrative responsibilities, and he will even forget to have his meal. He was that much we can say he was that much involved in his work. Here we have been given an example of his handwriting. Now these inscriptions, like we cannot understand the language, but from the handwriting we can make out that they were really clear. The curves, how neat and tidy his handwriting were. And from the handwriting we can also judge that he was very knowledgeable person. Let's see his study more about his interests and hobbies and how the things were during his rule, like how the literature was there, how the arts and crafts were there. Imprints left behind by Harshvardhan. Imprints means the marks, the traces which were left behind, his footprints, like what things he did and what things he started. He was the one and people started following that. Harsh built many rest houses, wells, step wells, lakes, mud and bihars, and also prohibited animal slaughter. We know the rest houses are for the people when earlier they were not hotels or guest house, but when certain kings went to some other place or some nice place, they did not have a place to live. So he built many rest houses. We all know what are wells and step wells. Lakes, mud and vihar. Muds and vihars are the place for like religious. They are the places where the houses for the monks and the sadhus, if we say. And he also prohibited, he banned animal slaughter. Earlier for sacrifice, animal slaughter was done in a huge, it was widespread, but he prohibited that. Every year he organized a Buddhist religious meet, and every 5 years he would organize a huge religious congregation at Prayag. Prayag, the earlier name was Allahabad, so Prayag, which was the original name. He organized a religious congregation. Congregation means it's a gathering where people from different regions gather. It was for religious purpose and it was done every 5 years. And he also organized religious meet, Buddhist religious meet. There, he would donate generously till his entire treasury was emptied, and would even give away the ornaments at the time. In these gatherings, different kind of people gather. Like there will be rich and there will also be poor. But he will give he would give away, he would donate his treasury, like all the things, all the money which is there, he would donate it generously. And sometimes, like if there is no cash, if there are no coins to give, he will just give away his ornaments, the things which he is wearing. He will also donate that. This is the kind of the king whom we say that he is actually generous. That was about the administration. Now what about literature? The great Sanskrit poet and writer Ban Bhatt adorned his court. Adorned means he added value to his court. His famous works Harsh Charit and Kadambari are famous even today. The works by Ban Bhatt. Harsh Charit is actually a book which shows the important aspects of King Harshvardhan's reign, how he ruled. Those things are described in Harshcharit. And Kadambari is a novel, a classic novel. King Harsh himself was a writer and wrote 3 plays, Naganand, Ratnavali and Priyadarshika. Here we have been given the historical map of India during Harshvardhan's rule. The region which has been highlighted, that was his empire. We can see that it starts from Haryana, a part of Punjab, Haryana, then there is Uttar Pradesh, then a part of Gujarat, some part of Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Bengal. This whole region, that huge part, was Harshvardhan's empire. We can say that a major portion of North India. This made it one of the big states at that time. We can here also see that the border is the Narmada river. We will study that why that was the border of Harshvardhan's empire in the next class. But here you can just have a look at it. Emperor Harshvardhan's empire, Nalanda University. King Harsh extended all possible assistance to Acharya Shilbhadra and made Nalanda into a world-famous university. He was very enthusiastic about knowledge and a university which was already established during the Gupta age, but he made sure that that good work is being continued, and he assisted Acharya Shilbhadra and he made Nalanda University a world famous university. There were not many universities at that time. So Nalanda, one of the oldest universities, and he also made it famous. People from all over the world came in this university to study there. The university had access to the revenues of 100 villages given to them by King Harsh for its upkeep and maintenance. So whatever, now this university, they were not charging fees from the students. They were providing knowledge to only the students who were worthy of getting admission there. There was an admission test, entrance test was there, and the students who came there, they were given free lodging, free boarding and free education. But how can they do that? Because they were having revenues from 100 villages. Like the villagers are doing their job, and whatever they earned from these villages, those revenues were given to Nalanda University. Renowned chemist Acharya Nagarjuna, chemist who has deep knowledge of chemistry, and he can create medicines and all. So, or other things like or about metals and all. So that renowned chemist Acharya Nagarjuna, who proved that arsenic is a chemical element that is very poisonous. It is often used to kill rats. So arsenic and ash, we know the residue which is left after something is burned, that bhasma. He proved that these could be used as a medicine. Even he belonged to Nalanda University. Life of the people. How people were living during the reign of King Harshvardhan. Information about the reign of King Harsh is available from the writings of Chinese traveler Yuan Sang. Yuan Sang had visited India when King Harsh was ruling. Yuan Sang had stayed 15 years in India. So at that time, King Harsh was there. So he has noted all these things. Towns and villages of the time were fortified and had huge gateways at their entrance. Fortified means there was a fort in each town and village which was there for the security of that particular town. And there were gateways. Gateway means there is a huge gate through which people can enter and exit. Like that is the only entrance. Randomly people cannot just come. Everything has been maintained there. Like there is a record of who is coming, there is a checking and all that things were being carried out. The society was divided into four groups. We know the four groups are Kshatriya, Brahman, Vaishya and Shudra. Even at that time, this division of groups were there. While the Parda system and intercaste marriages were not prevalent at that time, Parda system is the system where the women have to always cover their face. It's not only for the Muslim caste, but in Hindu religion also that system was there, but it was a kind of ghungat. But like that system was not there, and intercaste marriages were also not prevalent. People were strictly marrying in the same caste only. But the custom of sati, child marriage and polygamy had started by then. Sati, when the husband passes away, the wife also burns on the pyre with him and she also ends her life. That is the custom of sati, child marriage, where people are married off before they are of adult, like before they become adult, before they come to the age of marriage. Child marriage and polygamy. Polygamy means one person can have more than one wives. Like monogamy is one husband, one wife, but polygamy means one husband can have more than one wives. So that system had started. The local diet consisted of milk and milk products, wheat, rice, fruits and vegetables. They wore clean, simple white clothes. Men wore dhotis and women wore saris. Their ornaments were made from flowers, like rings, bangles, bracelets, necklaces. The people who were wearing these ornaments were made from flowers. And chess and game of dice were popular means of entertainment. Even in India, right now we are playing the games of dice. Like mobile version is a different thing, but the most famous game nowadays, Ludo, it is a game of dice. Snakes and ladder, even that is the game of dice. So chess and such games of dice were popular means of entertainment. Acrobats and conjurers. Acrobats are the person who perform difficult movements of the body. Like we see them during circus, who can walk on the ropes, pass through rings. So those people are acrobats and conjurers. Conjurers are the people who do clever tricks and they appear like magicians, so they are the conjurers. Acrobats and conjurers wandered from village to village entertaining people. They roamed from one village to another. They were not having a fixed location, so they always kept on moving from village to village to entertain people. Now the occupation of the people at that time. Farming and animal husbandry were the main occupations of the people. Land revenue was 1/6 of the production. Like that is the kind of taxation, like the revenue. So the land revenue, whatever produce they have created, they have harvested, sixth part of it was given as land revenue to the king. Internal and international trade was carried out by the Vaishyas. Vaishyas are the trader. So internal and international trade was done by them. The businessmen, they were doing this. The merchants, the traders. A highway from Patliputra to Bhrugu Kutch. Bhrugu Kutch is current day Bharuch in Gujarat. So from Patliputra to Bharuch port, a highway was built by the state for trade and transportation of goods. So even at that time, King Harshvardhan had done this for the easy trade, like people can travel or carry goods easily. Gold and silver coins were used for commercial transactions. They were not having printed money, but they were gold and silver coins. Ornaments, statues, ivory, and carved wooden pieces were exported. Exported where? To other countries. Other countries who were there at the same time. During the reign of King Harsh, India had good business relations with Rome, which led to the inflow of gold in India. So, with Rome, Roman kings were getting things from India. So, they will export the things and in return they will get gold. Hence, there was inflow of a huge inflow of gold in India. People followed Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism but were tolerant towards other religions. Now, prevailing religions were Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. They were following this, but they were not inter-religion war. Like they were also tolerant with other people who are following different religion. So this way there was a peaceful life. Yuan Sang, 629 to 645 CE. Now we came across this name as a Chinese traveler who visited India, and from his writing we come to know about how the people were, how the life of the people were during Harsh's reign. Now, what? Let's come to the life of Yuan Sang, like why he came to India and what he did and what he has noted. The Chinese traveler Yuan Sang visited India during Harsh's reign and studied Buddhism at Nalanda for 5 years. Now, Yuan Sang was basically a Buddhist and he came India to study deeply about Buddhism, and hence he also studied Buddhism as a subject to get deep knowledge about Buddhism at Nalanda University for 5 years. He has noted that there were 100 Buddhist mutts in Harsh kingdom. Mutt are is the place where these monks are living. So there were 100 such mutts in Harsh kingdom, and people lived a simple, pious and peaceful life based on living by rules of good moral conduct and justice. Pious means religious. They are deeply into religion. So people were living simple, religious and peaceful life, and they were living by the rules of good moral conduct. People were having moral conduct, like they were good citizens and justice. Nothing wrong was done, like there were no unfair practices, or the king was not even doing some kind of injustice. Cheating and breach of promise were considered sinful. Cheating, we know, like not doing something as it should be, or not following the rules, and breach of promise. Breach means breaking of promise. Vachan todna. It was considered sinful. Sinful means like paap barabar tha. Here, there is the map which shows the route of Yuan Sang's India tour. Now we can see that he came from the North India and he has completed all the regions till South India, and he went back through that way. But if we take a deep look, he basically went to the places where Buddhism was propagated, like where there were various Buddhist mutts or vihars, and he came to follow Buddhism deeply. He wanted to study deep about that. While his stay, he had also attended the 6th Buddhist religious congregation at Prayag. We studied about the congregation at Prayag, which had started by King Harsh, and Yuan Sang had also attended one such Prayag, that 5-yearly congregation at Prayag. Yuan Sang stayed in India for 15 years and visited different places. He has described social, political and religious conditions of that time. Here, from this map, we also get to know about the major rivers and major cities which were there in India during these two big states. So that was all about one of the big states, Kanauj, and his king, King Harshvardhan. And after that, we also studied about Yuan Sang. We'll be studying about the another big state, Vatapi, in the next video. I hope this much is clear to you, and see you in the next class. Bye.